Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with Swagglehas. And in this stream, I thought I would fire it up because we got some live auctions going on right now, some heritage auctions, the signature auctions, and I felt like turning on the camera. I was thinking about doing a stream later tonight, and I figured, why not fire it up now? I'm ready at home, just hanging out. The auction's going on. There's some massive books. I kind of wish I actually had the foresight to stream an hour ago. But I wasn't free, had meetings and stuff because there was some crazy stuff that went on sale. But I figured, we can still watch kind of the rest of the auction and talk about it and do some hangout, see if anyone joins the room. I mean, I know it's kind of like earlier in the day, 11:15, so kind of an odd time to stream for comics. But, maybe you guys are hanging out, doing some working from home, and, you can have me on in the background and we can talk about the comic book market and things like that. Let's kind of check in with the chat. A couple people hopping in the room here. How do I sound, by the way? I'm just doing this live. I probably screwed up all the technical stuff. And actually, I need to send something really quick. Way to not prepare this show properly, Swag. But I will do it in a second. You guys don't mind me as I do the pre-show stuff I should have been doing at the beginning. What's going on? Let's see. A couple people here. Max, what's going on, man? Daniel, what's going on? Landlords, what's going on? Sean Green, good to see you guys. Yeah, so hopefully I sound okay. But the thing that I wanted to do was, talk about the comic book market. We got heritage auctions going on right now. We had the signature auction, or the platinum session, as they called it, earlier today. And let's see, let's take a look at the completed prices, because I think this would be kind of cool for us to look at and talk about. Some massive stuff definitely went on sale here. And this one was earlier. We had a lot of original comic book art go on sale, which was pretty crazy. Some early EC covers, some Calvin and Hobbes stuff, which shout out to Ryan, Automatic Comics, but he definitely shot this over to me. I mean, look at this thing. This is insane. I don't even know what really this is. Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes, a Sunday comic strip, original art, dated May of 1987. $480,000, $500,000 for this Calvin and Hobbes newspaper clipping. I don't know if this is the first appearance of Calvin and Hobbes, like just in whatever, in I guess newspapers or whatever you would want to call it, but that's pretty wild. It's pretty wild that it got that price overall. I mean, who knew that there were some crazy Calvin and Hobbes collectors? All right, let me really quickly, before we kind of talk about some of the other prices and stuff here, let me really quickly just do a couple housekeeping things. What did I do here on this? Oh yeah, let me grab this up. Let me take this link, copy link, see if other people are fun employed like me. Yeah, so I thought I would just kind of flip through some of the prices and talk about some of these sales, and then we can kind of follow along the next session that starts in about like 5 or 10 minutes. And we can just kind of see what some of the book prices go for. Generally speaking, my takeaway right now, whether it's right or wrong, is that obviously we've seen a lot of correction in prices in the market. And it is interesting to see, most of the books that went on sale are all like high-end, super, super expensive, highest grade on the census type of stuff that are selling. And what appears clear to me is that if you are a high-end book that's sold anytime in 2021 or even at the top of 2022 during kind of the heights of the market, which by most accounts, if you're a Bronze Age book or Silver Age books, just census says, or census would suggest that you had a high likelihood that you did in fact go on sale at that time. You just overshot the natural kind of rate of growth that your book should be valued at. So any book that kind of sold in that time probably has room to correct even at the highest ends. And if you're a golden age book, that hasn't had a sale recently, it's likely that you're still going to perform better than your last sale. But there are cases that are interesting to me that, if you're a golden age book that happened to have gone on sale during those times, you probably also overshot your price as well. And maybe your sale wasn't as strong as, it could have been in theory. So it is really interesting to kind of analyze that. And I mean, maybe it's a good thing overall, because generally speaking, it's like everything is correcting. Everything's going back down to normal. 2021 was a wild year, guys. We all got crazy. We all spent a lot of money. We all got left holding the bag, and everything's going back to normal. And we will kind of, see where we finish out. So I'll go through some of the prices. I just kind of want to say hi to some more people in the chat here. Let's see. Landlord Try, he was notoriously stinging with merchandising, so anything C and H is major. Oh, I see. Gotcha. That makes sense in terms of the Calvin Hobbes stuff. So yeah, I guess, I don't know if that newspaper clipping itself is which is one of the first appearances of the characters, which is crazy to see. Dan, what's going on, man? Good to see you, man. Thanks for hopping in. Let's see. Kevin here. Lots of Blue Beetle coming up for auction at Heritage. Yeah, there's definitely some cool books that are still coming up here. Actually, let me get organized so I know. All right, 10 minutes. We're 10 minutes away from the live auction. So let's kind of flip through and talk about some of these sales. So this was so we got to the comic book sections here, and then this Spider-Man was one of the first ones that came up. And I thought that this was pretty interesting because you could make the argument that this one was a weak sale, which it could have been. Let me see. Amazing Spider-Man 1. It was a lower sale than the last one. It definitely didn't perform as well. And being that this was a pedigree copy as well, you would think that it would get that bump. But you could see that this one has also had a pullback. The 9.0 here kind of had an anomaly sale. So it depends on how you want to evaluate this, where we had one on Comic Connect, and it wasn't that long ago, that's what's so crazy about it. It was in September. The book sold for $196. This is just kind of a regular book here. And then this pedigree copy, excuse me, get out of here. This pedigree copy just went for $120. So definitely a lot less. But if you all things considered, if you look at, this was a sales for $66,000 in 2019. So that's one of those things where it just looks like if you're a book that had its price readjusted in 2021 or 2022 earlier in the year, you're probably not going to perform too well right now in comparison to those prices. And on top of that, where with the Heritage auction that we have right now, there's going to be a few more ASM books that go on sale, which is wild because we had a 9.0, and then we still have yet to have, I think a 9.6 is coming on sale, and then an 8.5 is also coming on sale too. It's just like, I was talking to, shout out to Drew. I see him in the chat now, but I was talking to him earlier and I was just saying dude, why would you put up your book? Why would you put up your ASM 1 in a signature auction like this when you have two others that are not the same grade, but within the vicinity? It's you're already creating so much competition for yourself. How many massive ASM 1 buyers are there going to be? It's going to be a tough sell. So it'll be interesting. But let's see a couple other interesting sales right here. We did have a 9.8 ASM 50 go up, which was pretty cool. And this is the record. This is the record price. Basically, $100K, which, I think that's, I don't know if you want to call it a strong sale, maybe a disappointing sale, depends on how you want to evaluate it. But I'm fairly certain that is the record price. Yeah. And that seems pretty good to me overall. There's 8 on the census, 9.8s. The last sale for the 9.8 was $55K in 2020. So effectively, it's doubled its, 2020 price, which I would say is a really, really strong sale for this book overall. Being that there's only 8 on the census, white pages, all-time classic book, seems like the right. I don't even know if you want to call it the right price. Maybe it actually is a little bit high. It's really hard to say. So kind of interesting with that one. Let's see some other sales here. There's some big Batman sales. These ones always perform really well. I think this Batman 181 did really well. The 9.6 selling for $55K. I don't know off the top of my head if it is if there is a 9.8 on the census. I would imagine that there is. This Black Cat one, some of the pre-code horror is kind of cool to talk about. This Black Cat and Chamber of Chills right here, both of them did pretty well, I think, overall. The 8.5 went for $27,600, which it's weird how you want to kind of analyze where it should be. I don't know if Ryan is in the chat, but I'm sure he's got like good formulas for this type of stuff. But you have this Black Cat Comics 50, 8.5. It just sold for $27,600, and then the 9.0, which is the 9.2, which is a more recent comp in 2021 for 28. So is 27 at an 8.5 a good price, like kind of flirting with the 2020 9.2 price? Is that kind of maybe proportional to where it wants to sort of be? I think the 9.6 sold this last year for $72,000. So I guess if you want to 9.6, 72 to the 8.5, do the metrics, do the math. Is that a strong sale? I mean, either way, it's going to be setting its personal best at this grade regardless. Similarly, we got the Chamber of Chills 19 sale, $72,000. Another big sale for this book for sure. Hard to determine what it wanted to go for. Probably, I mean, it's probably really, really good. 72,000. Let's see, 9.2. So 50,000 a year ago. Yeah. So this definitely did really well. This is one of those books where it is actually one that has gone up in its even in this market. So very, very strong showing for this right here. And we all know about this book. We've talked about this before. Just it is the creme de la creme when it comes to the pre-code horror books. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like this is the book to get for pre-code horror. I could be wrong. Actually, I mean, there's tons of great books, but this definitely seems to be the one that's like the super, super classy book to have. And it is interesting. We did get the top of the census, 9.6 for 102. So then we had this 9.2 sell for 70. Yeah, I mean, pretty strong overall. Let me kind of check back in with the chat here, see what's going on. Dan says, I'm holding all kinds of bags. Yeah, you and me both, buddy. You and me both. We're all holding a few bags, I think, in our collection. If you're someone who bought aggressively in anything in 2021, you're definitely holding the bag. Yeah, a 9.8 sold for $250K a year ago. So right on. So right. Okay, I see. Yeah, so $250K. That's the 181. That 9.6 sold for $55K. Yeah, I think that seems pretty like 4 times the price. When you get the 9.6, 9.8, that makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Circumstance, what's going on? I see a ton of y'all need to support the homie swag on. Hit that like button. Thank you, Circumstance. I appreciate that. Yeah, hit that like button. We'll be doing some live watching here. Let me stay on top of the auction. Get my tabs in order. 3 minutes left. We can talk still some more about these books. This one was an interesting one too. Captain America Comics #1. It's a 9.2 conserved, and it's like I don't know how you evaluate kind of a book like this, because obviously it's 9.2. It's an amazing looking copy, but it is a conserved grade. So essentially it's got, professional restoration on it. And it's hard to really determine like what kind of price it should be yielding. 276 is definitely low relative to that grade, being that the, 2013, it was a $306,000 book. So if we're kind of doing the rules, I don't know if the conserved grade rules follow the same logic of the restoration, where essentially you would kind of half the price. So let's say it was 7.0 sold for $325. It's a 9.2. It's restored. Yeah, maybe 278, 276 is kind of where it should be, essentially. For a book like that. But it's interesting with the conserved grades. Like when you're dealing with this kind of number and you're buying a book like a 9.2 conserved, you're probably someone who is a holder of this book. Like I imagine you're not getting this necessarily for investment, because the resale is going to be always tricky with, a conserved book. So it's going to be tough to figure out. But you're probably someone who's like, I just want this book, and a 9.2. This is a beautiful presenting copy, and I don't mind the restored. So it seems like they are a holder, someone who is definitely buying that thing. Some other interesting ones. The Crime Suspense Stories, another pre-code horror book that did very, very well. Definitely setting its personal best. All right, let's talk about this Daredevil one. Daredevil one, $90,000, 9.6 grade. Weak sale, could be a weak sale. Depends on how we want to evaluate. Certainly a weak sale relative to recent comps. However, is it a weak sale relative to the fact that everything just went crazy in 2021 and 2022, and we're getting back into the trend line? But you can see there's definitely a lot of, I think like all of these sales that happened in 2021 and 2022, essentially you were just overshooting the mark, right? Because this is a book in 2016 is 35K, jumps up to 102, went to 150, the height of the market, April of 2021, 150. And then ever since has been kind of on the decline, 125, 96, 111, 110. And then this recent one at 90. So, you know, it's one of those like that just, it's a tough pill to swallow if you're someone who bought the 150, but 90 is probably like what it should have always been. You know what I mean? Like 90 is just, that's the price that just, it should have been that from the get-go. And even then 90K, I mean, I think we'd have to do the math on like a 2016 sale at 35 and then do it like a proportionally, maybe even 90 is still actually too high for a book like that. Like it might still have, you know, room to come down, especially since with the 9.6, there's 32 on the census and there's 2 9.8s. So you're not even, you know, top of the census at that point. So it's pretty wild. Let's see here. We are live on the news session. Okay. Live on the news session. Let's check back in on that. Let's jump into this room. I don't want to lose my my place here. All right, let's jump into this room. Let's go on the live. We'll do it live, guys. We'll do it live. How do I get in this here? Oh, we're on the AF15. Wait, I want to go live. Let me just turn off the live bidding, guys, so that I don't stupidly make a mistake. All right, we got the 8.5 right now. Can you guys see this? Do you guys hear the Heritage guy? Should I fix my audio? Do you care to hear him? I mean, we don't really need to hear him, right? I can just talk over this. Could you imagine if I had live bidding on and I accidentally hit the bid button? Like, there's got to be something like, am I just screwed? Like, will I just be shunned from Heritage? There's got to be like a, oh crap, I didn't mean to hit the button. Yeah, Drew knows. Always important to turn off the live bid. If there's one thing I can assure you guys, turn off the live bid. I think I'm going to keep the audio off on this guy because he's quiet anyways, and you know we don't really need to hear him. All right, so we got AF15 went for $552,000 at the 8.5 grade. Now, I don't know what the prices are off the top of my head, but 552 seems like a lot for an 8.5. It seems like a lot. So let's find out if that's actually the case. I could be wrong. I have no idea what the prices are off the top of my head. I mean, yeah, that seems like a good. I mean, well, the last 8.5 was 155 in 2017. Let's see, like what the 9.0 sold for recently. 395 2017. Oh, okay, well, what are the recent comps? An 8.0 went for 472. That seems like a really good sale, isn't it? Am I wrong here? Let me check the chat. Down 320. Wait. Am I? Do I have something wrong here, guys, with my evaluation here? Drew, is this a bad sale? 552 seems really good for this thing. Were there comps that went for higher recently? Maybe Go Collect has it wrong, actually. Maybe Go Collect has it wrong. But that seems like a pretty good sale overall. So here we have this Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, God. So this is that one. Amazing Spider-Man 1, the 9.6 right now is up for sale. Next bid would be 360. This is one where earlier we had the 9.0 go for 120, and we have two ASM big books up for sale right now. So it's like, I can't imagine this ASM one is going to do that well, but let's see if anyone slides in here on these bids. Could be tough. All right, what final sale? 336. 336. That seems like a not good sale. Just off the top of my head. We have to look. But what did you expect? What did you expect with having 3 big ASM books in the same auction? Like, I just wouldn't have sold it. I mean, unless you're somebody who just, well, I don't know. Look at this, 2016, 262. I guess it maybe these are good sales. Because so a 9.0 went for 196. Yeah, that does seem like actually it's a good sale. No? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that these sales were weak or bad? Okay, so last 2 sales on GPA were 707 and 875. Oh, okay. So go collect. We need to have a conversation. You are not you're not doing well with your prices here. Amazing Fantasy number 15. I like using Go Collect for you guys because obviously we have pictures, and then when you kind of go into things like this, you can pull up, like, you can actually see the image of the book that recently sold. So that's really, really convenient. So you can kind of see like, oh, okay, this one had a faded cover and stuff. So that's really, really nice. But there's no denying that the pricing on this is not very good. Okay, so here we go. 8.5. Yeah, that's for sure pretty rough overall. 8.5 went in July for 875. Then in 2021, it went for 707. So this is the perfect example of a book that just it shot up too much too fast. 2021 was a crazy year, and $500,000 as a sale for where it is right now is probably what it always should have been, relatively proportionally speaking. You know what I mean? 552 is the right price to pay versus whatever someone paid, all the way back when. So I guess the ASM 1 sale was actually pretty good, which is surprising. Okay, and then this VF copy went for 66,000, which I don't have to pull it up, but we'll see. These are some of the ones I think are interesting. When you start to get into this world where you have like a ASM 390, it's like you're dealing with numbers that are like 26,000, and then but when you're at that price point, like if you have 26,000 to spend, you have a lot of options all of a sudden, right? There's a lot of different things a lot of different places you can put your money. So it's like, do you want to put your money into ASM 3? Like the 9.0, which I can't imagine is the top of the census for a Dr. Octopus book. It's something that is really, really interesting to think about. Oh, let me check into the chat here. Sometimes I disregard FMV and just pay top dollar for an issue I really want. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with like overpaying for a book that you want. Like if you just want it and you're willing to overpay and that you're overpaying, like, who cares? If you want it, you want it. What do you think that 9.6 Avengers 8 will go for? Yeah, I'm interested in that one. Is it a 9.6 though? I think in this auction there's an 8.0 that is going up for sale, but maybe there is Avengers 8 9.6. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. It'll be. I can't imagine that it's the top of the census, right? Oh, it's not going to be in this auction actually. I'm interested in the ASM 129 9.8 Punisher. That'll be interesting to see. All right, so this ASM 390 26,000. Is that good? Is that bad? Probably seems like it might be a good price. I don't know. 9.0. No, definitely correcting like other books. Yeah. So it's again another example of something that in 2022 this book sold for 44,000, and then went for 26. 2 weeks later. I mean, can you imagine? That's even worse. That's even worse. The fact that this book went for 44 in June and then literally 2 weeks later was in a heritage auction again and went for 26. That to me is like two people went crazy and they got in a bidding war and they bid that book up way too much. And now 26, 29, and back to whatever it just sold for 27, 26 is like, this is the right price. So kind of interesting, even at the high end, even at the highest end of grades here, people just, they get FOMO. They get FOMO and they just bid this stuff up. But there will always be another opportunity for some of these books. ASM 5, 8.0 went for $5,000. That seems like not a bad price. But ASM 5, what do you guys think about ASM 5? It's kind of a weird book, It's kind of like a weird, like, is this a key? Obviously, it's a cool book. It's one that's like, yeah, I'd love to have it in my collection, but like, it's not really a key. I don't even think it's the first time that Spider-Man meets Dr. Doom, right? I think Spider-Man meets Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four book. Is this the first time they meet? What do you guys think? Do you guys know in the chat? ASM 1 8.0 at 60K seems to be right on the 22 sale. Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the ASM books actually did okay, considering that there were 3 of them. So I'm actually pretty surprised with that. I just want to point out that the ASM 2894 coming up, impossible above 8.5, one of 1894s, 8.8s, and only 8.96 in the. Okay, let's take a look at that. ASM 28. We will keep our eye on that one. Let's see what else went by. We had First Lizard, a 9.0 go for $8,000. We had Electro 9.4 go for 16.8. Craven go for 93. We got Molten Man right now. I don't think that these books are necessarily top of census, but it is interesting to watch here. I'm interested in this Avengers one. This seems pretty where it is right now. VF 8019. Is that bad? Is that low for where it wants to be? I can't remember. 22,000. So it's pretty much where it wants to be. Even if it sells for whatever it's at right now at 19.2, to me that feels like a negligible difference. I think that this book's so cool. I would love to have the 8.0. That'd be sick. All right, let's see. Molten Man went for 16,000. That seems ridiculously high. 16,000 for a 9.4 of Molten Man? Come on, guys. Are you guys Molten Man fans out there? No way, right? That seems. This is one of those books where it's like, I feel like when I'm digging through the ASM section, you're always hoping like that you're gonna find like some of the cool key books like Craven, Electro, things like that. Even Scorpion, Rhino, maybe. Of course, the ASM section is always picked over. And the key book that is always in the bin is Molten Man. I don't know how many times I've passed over the first appearance of Molten Man. Molten Man never got any, Molten Man never got any love in the Spider-Man animated show. And I think that hurt his villain persona, That black cover is really tough to get in high grade, right? Yeah, that's true. I mean, anytime any black cover book or heavily colored saturated book is going to be tough, right, in the high grade. So, maybe if that 9.4 is the top census, I don't think we need to look it up. Last sale was 19,800 on ASM 28. 19,800. For Molten Man? I mean, God damn. Like, it's so funny. It's just like, when you get to that level of book, when you got 20K to spend, I guess if you love Molten Man, you love Spider-Man, why not? Why not? But if you got 20K, there's a lot of opportunities for different things. Yeah, it's just scarce and high grade. Totally get it. Yeah, it's if you're a whale collector, if you're super fan of Spider-Man, and you need it, it is interesting to actually, I think it'd be cool at some point to do some conversation on the channel with people who are like, top of census people who it's like they want the best ASM collection. So they have to get these types of books, like even Molten Man, they need that top of census because they need the bragging rights in the community. All right, let's see. We got 19,000 on ASM 50 at the 9.4. We set the record earlier. We got ASM 100, went for 3,600. Very, very cool book. Now we got ASM 129. What is the fair market value? What's the recent comps for ASM 129 and the 9.8? This one is interesting too because there's a lot of Punisher books out there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of them. This is always a little bit scary too because this 9.8 is an old label. And I know that's shouldn't really be a reason to not buy a book, but let's be honest, like old labels, they don't look as nice. And there's always the risk that if you're going to reholder that book, it could come back at 9.6. So that's always really scary. So it's interesting with books that need to be reholdered. All right, so what did this go for? So 38,000. 38,000 on the ASM 129. Do you guys know? Oh, last sale. So last sale was 33,000. So that was a really strong sale for that book. Or like, I think if you're matching prices in this market, that's pretty good considering, the economy. So was 33,000 the record, or has this book been on a decline, right? It must have been that there was like a 50K record in like 2021 or something crazy like that, right? Because I think like the 9.8s have like, I don't know, 129 on the census. There's like 100 something on the census. All right, this Avengers 180, it's probably going to sell kind of right in line to the recent comps, which I think that's pretty good overall with this book. It's crazy to me with Avengers 1. Obviously, I spent a lot of time thinking about Avengers 1 and looking at the things like that and just analyzing it. There is not that many high grades of this book. For whatever reason, this book got beat up a lot. Like 8.0, if you get an 8.0 of this book, you're already in the top 4%. Like the curve of this book, like you can see right here, like even just on like a bird's eye snapshot view, you see 9.6, it's like 5, 12, 15, 21, 47, 49, 83, 128, 161. It's not until you get to around the 4s where you get that sort of like middle majority grade situation, right? Where it's like all it takes to get to like, you just have to get to a 5.0 where you're already sort of like on the other end of like the bulk of stuff. Like the majority of this book sits in this like 4.5 to 2.0 range. So it doesn't take much to get to more close to the top of census with that book. So I think that's a good buy. 28,000 I think that's the personal best for that book. So cool to see that. And that kind of makes sense to me. Yeah, here we go. So 57K in March of 2022. Thank you, Drew. Yeah, that's a book where it's like, it goes on sale enough that there's always going to be repricing of it. So obviously it had a sale in the hype and the craze of earlier this year in 2021, and then it's gonna get continually repriced. So it's interesting to think about if the 33K is a good price for that, if that's like the right price that it should be. Just on a snapshot, feels like that's probably what it should be. Shout out to Alex the Comic Horror. What's going on, man? Good to see you in the chat. Low grade AF15, greater than highest grade Molten Man for me all day, every day. Totally agree, right? Like if you got 16,000 to spend, I would much rather buy a 1.0 AF15. But I guess it's for the whales. It's for the whales. Molten Man is no Darkhawk. Couldn't agree more. 4-stringer base. Couldn't agree more. Definitely no Darkhawk. All right, Avengers number 4. We got that sale. 33,000 pedigree copy for Boston pedigree copy for this one right here, 9.4 grade. What do you guys think about this book, Avengers 4? Is this book underrated, overrated? Because I feel like it's underrated. But then again, first Silver Age appearance. Do we care about first Silver Age appearances? You got to compare it to like Fantastic Four number 4, like first Submariner Silver Age appearance. I think that this book is awesome. I think it's great, and it is proportionately cheaper than all of the kind of like other key books that come around this time. Obviously the other key books are true first appearances. This is the Silver Age appearance, but this feels like a good time to buy this book. Of all the books that are cool books to buy, with prices correcting, and on top of the fact that, like, I don't imagine that this book's going to get that much cheaper, right? Because it's like we're done, quote unquote. We're done with Captain America, even though we're totally not done with Captain America. We're going to get Chris Evans again. He's going to come back. But like, it's one of those, like, you can tell that the hype factors for this thing have leveled, right? It's not like some spec book that people are buying. So you can feel that the floor for this book right now is in a good spot. And that to me is, it's like, I think of that as like the best way to kind of maybe approach buying is, it's like, what is the worst case scenario floor for a book, and can it only go up if things like movies come in or whatever, or Chris Evans comes back? I think that's probably a better time to buy it. But what do you guys say? Underrated, overrated, underrated? I want to say underrated. I think it's where it should be. Underrated. It's an ugly ass cover, but bug featuring Cap, I'll pass. Isn't that funny? It's funny because, like, is it an ugly cover? Like, on the one hand, it's like the most classic cover, or one of the most classic covers. But I don't disagree that it's not the best cover, but also it's classic, So it's hard to say. All right, where are we at? We're not paying attention to the auctions here. All right, we got Vision book 9.6 sold for $8,100. We got a Cap 100 book, another book that seems undervalued, and $8,400 off the top of my head. That seems like a really this feels like a book that is corrected pretty hard. Old Label right here. This is another one of those situations where it's like, I don't want to buy this one in the Old Label. I remember going to shows. I think that there's quite a decent amount of 9.8 Cap 100s out there. I remember going to some shows and seeing them. I think the sticker prices were like $15K. So $8,000, definitely a pretty big repricing. Conan the Barbarian 1, 9.8. This one is interesting. 9.8, 4,900. This feels like a really weak sale, but I could be wrong on this one. Let's find out, guys. Conan the Barbarian 1. Conan the Barbarian 1. Classic book. Barry Windsor Smith. 9.8s, 84. And oh, yeah. This is going to be one that corrected pretty hard, yeah? 14,000. So this is just I think this is just an anomaly sale. Like, yeah, it sucks if you're the person who bought, this book for 14,000 on Heritage in April, but you just way overpaid. I mean, like, in 2021, I guess this is a tough one. This is a tough one. Actually, I would even say this is one of the worst. This is terrible. Whoever bought this got a steal. This is $5,000 for a book that in 2020 was $5,000. Wow. That is a really, really weak sale for that, actually. This person way overpaid at $14,000. And then this person who got that book just got a steal. Hell of a deal. What do you guys think of Conan overall? Are you fans of the Conan book? All right, let's kind of check here. What do we got? So we had Daredevil 1, another Daredevil 1, 9.2 went for 28,000. Is that, yeah, okay. Got some cool Daredevil books, second Electro, first Owl, Doctor Strange 9.8. So that's interesting. We had the Cap 100 go for 8,000 whatever. This Doctor Strange 169 I would kind of put in the same sort of same kind of window, right, as like that Cap 100, where it's like these are all books that came out in 1968. Even though this one is not a big premiere issue, effectively it's a big premiere issue. It's in the similar sort of vein, and this one went for 11,000. So this seems like it probably, maybe it's less than what it wanted to be, but it's a good sale. All right, here we go. We got a big one here. FF190. We had an FF180 sell earlier, and I think it got a good price, relatively speaking. So it'll be interesting to see what this one goes for. Currently at 240K is the next bid. That's the other thing too, with this Heritage, guys, if you don't know, and I learned this from Ryan at Automatic Comics, but like you can see right here, it's really nice. You got the next bid, which is, this is what the auctioneer is going to say. He's going to be like, next bid is 200,000. 200,000 is the next bid. But really, you got to factor in the buyer's premium, which is really, it's 240K, which is going to go to the auction house, that buyer's premium. And when you go to like GPA and look at the data of like what the recent sale is, it will include the buyer's premium. So like it will say that this book sold for 240K or whatever it actually sold for. So 234K in this particular instance, even though the auctioneer is saying, oh, next bid 195, next bid 195. So you always got to factor that in to the price. So 234.90, how did that do? Let's see. 90, let's take a look at the census here. So 96 is, there's 2 on the census, 96, 3 94s, 3 92s, and 11 90s. That is definitely looking like a weak sale, guys. Looking like a weak sale overall, because what do we say here? This one just went for 234. It depends on how you want to evaluate this, because 234, 288, 264, it's like, yeah, it's a little bit weaker than those, but like when you're at that sort of level, even though it is like a whatever 10% difference, I mean, 234, 264, there's going to be fluctuations. It's really this $420,000 sale that, someone just went way too ham on this one. And we've seen this, in similar instances with some of the other books where it's like, that's the thing with these auctions. Like if you just get 2 people who are bidding up a book, they really, really want it. They just want it then and there. You can have instances like this where it shoots up too high. So on the one hand, you could say that this is a weak sale. On the other hand, you could say that this feels like recession sale 9.0, so it depends on kind of how you want to look at it. What really hurts is, when you get into areas like this, where you're the person who bought the 8.5 and you spent 350. That's something I've been looking at a lot as I make determinations for books that I want to buy, is I don't just pay attention to the grade that I'm looking at. I often pay attention to the other grades relative, right? Because you want to make sure that there can be a lot of price compression with a lot of, books, especially when it's like you're dealing with budget that's like my budget, right? Where it's like I'm always, looking at the 4.0s and the 3.0s and things like that. So there's a lot of price compression in those areas. And I don't just evaluate, okay, well, the recent 3.0 sold for this, and here's my trend line, blah, blah, blah. You got to look at that, like the recent sale of the 2.5, and then you got to look at the recent sale of the 4.0. And you got to like evaluate all of those numbers together to figure out like what your actual floor could be. Because it could be that, the 3.0 sold recently, or it could be that the 3.0 didn't sell recently, but a 4.0 sold recently. And the 4.0 is a more closer price at what you should be looking at for your 3.0, and things like that. So it's like always you have to kind of evaluate those things and take those things into consideration. But yeah, I mean, this FF1 book, 8.0, okay, you're fine. But sucks if you're somebody who bought that 8.5 and you were, you had the opportunity to get that 9.0 price point here recently. Because I'll say that there is a big psychological difference, I think, for a lot of buyers when you're talking about checkpoints of grade, right? Where it's like an 8.5 and a 9.0. There's like a big difference in terms of, you know, how people sort of evaluate those books. All right, we're missing stuff. Swag, we're missing stuff. Oh, this is wild. So I think this FF46, or excuse me, this FF48, there were 2 that went on sale in this auction. 2. And literally someone paid twice as much for this. This is wild. So this is the other thing too that we always have to consider. You know, auctions are the Wild West, right? Auctions are the Wild West, and you never really know. And these things aren't perfect, and there's no logic, right? It's like, who is the buyer? Who decided I want to win this bid? You know, maybe like someone is just sitting in that room, you know, and someone just wanted to stick it to the other person because they were like, they came in that day, they're like, man, I really want that FF48. I'm so looking forward to buying that FF48. And then they looked at some other person wrong, or they like stepped on their shoes, and that person was like, fuck you. I'm going to bid you up, buddy. I'm going to make you pay way more for that FF48 than you should. You know, and it gets into a bidding war. And then all of a sudden somebody spends $40,000 on an FF 9.6. And then that person swoops in and gets, you know, this one for 28. So yeah, I'm pretty sure like about an hour ago, a 9.6 went for 40,000. Maybe it was like 38 or something. And then this one sells for 28. Now, here's that other factor. This is an old label. And I realize an old label doesn't seem like, you know, it's worth 12,000 less. But, you know, if we're thinking of certain people aesthetically, like if you have this kind of money, right? And you're like, I just want a new label. I don't want to deal with the old label. I don't care what I'm paying. I want it. You know, that could be one of the reasons why somebody doesn't buy a book like this. Like to them at this price, but they're like 12,000. Like, who cares? I don't want to deal with reholdering a book. So pretty wild overall. Oh God, we're gonna have to talk about that Giant Size X-Men one, but we got to watch this Hulk one here as well. So we got 2 big books coming up. Giant Size X-Men 1. Do you guys know what are the recent 9.8s? And it definitely seems to have dropped off quite a bit. This Hulk one too, 7.5, very, very high. I don't know what the census is. Okay, so let's see. 78K on the Hulk one. Okay, we're gonna have to let a couple of these pass because we're gonna come back. Okay, once we get to like, let's get to. Oh, I want to watch that Silver Surfer one as well. And there's a lot of cool books to talk about. Let's watch this 181 go by. Let's watch this 181 together. There was one that sold earlier as well, similarly like the Fantastic Four book. There was another 9.8 that sold in the same auction about an hour ago. What did it go for? Like 90K or something like that. Which again, it depends on how you want to evaluate these things, because there was the $138,000 sale, and then there was a 101. But the other ones relative to the 90 seemed fine. So those 2 were just wild. But this one right here at 69,000, I don't know. We'll see what happens with this one. The Hulk 181 is interesting. The reality is there are a lot. There are a lot of 181s, especially at the 9.8 range. You know, there are a lot on the census. I think that there are probably like 100 and something. So there's always going to be a 9.8 going up for sale every other month or so. So it's pretty wild. All right. Drew helping me out here so I don't have to type so fast. Giant Size 1, last sale was 33K in September, peaked at 72, guys. What did this go for? 33K. All right, so right in line. So it looks like the Bronze Age books, and this is what we've talked about with the Bronze Age and Silver Age indexes and things like that. Because the census on Bronze Age is higher, the repricing of those books is always going to be more accurate, right? Because there's always going to be a new sale for them because they're always going to come up on sale. So it feels like a lot of these Bronze Age books have been repriced, like the ASM 129 and the Giant Size X-Men 1. The Silver Age ones are the interesting ones because like maybe there hasn't been a sale as recently, so the repricement is owed, sort of like the Fantastic Four 1, right? Where it's like, you know, it's been 4 or 5 months so since we got that last sale, so now we need to really reprice it. I still think that it's possible that some of these Bronze Age books can continue to adjust more if they're not properly in the trend line of 2020. So I'm curious to see if the giant size. If the giant size has room to grow, but 33K seems to be in line. Okay, so we're at. Oh wow! So this one shot up a little bit. This 9.8. Next bid is 102. So if this does get another bid, that'll be a really strong showing once again. Looks like it's probably not going to get it. I don't know if this guy's going to get it because it's probably sitting right now at 90 something, which would be in line. So we'll see if it can break the 6-figure range. This is another old label situation. So maybe it's a 9.9 candidate, right? Kraken Press. All right, so 96. So I think the one earlier sold around 90, and then that one sold around 96. So again, with the 181s, the 181s are tricky, right? All right, let's look at Incredible Hulk 1. Let's go back to this. Incredible Hulk 1. Let's take a look at that. What do we have here? We had a 7.5 went for 78,000. 7.5. Ooh, that is a drop off. You can see right there. So last 3 sales, 106, 108, 104, and as recently as September too, which is pretty wild. So that is definitely a pretty decent drop off for this book, especially when you consider. I mean, look, this is a book that in 2019 sold for 70K. Yeah, look at that right there. Fixed priced on eBay. Somebody bought this book for 70K in 2019. So I think someone got a good buy on that Hulk 1. Top 5%. What do you guys think about that? This is actually pretty crazy too. There's a lot of Hulk 1s that went on sale. Like look at this. Every single grade point has been sold in the last year, which is that true of like FF1, for instance? Has FF1 been sold? And even look at in the 30-day and the 90-day and the 90-day, a lot of repricing for this book. Feels like a mass exodus of Hulk 1 right there. Feels like a mass exodus, which is pretty interesting. Let's see. 96K. Yeah, that's the Hulk 181. All right, where are we at now? Iron Man #1. Great book. 9.8. So relatively speaking, we can kind of just off the top of my head without looking it up, right? We had the Cap 100 sell for 8,000. We had the Doctor Strange 169 sell for 11,000. And then Iron Man 1 coming in strong here with a $24,000 sale. So I don't know. Maybe it's been corrected, right, from its previous sales. I'm sure it has. I'm sure that in 2021 this book sold for probably like 50K or whatever it is. But relatively speaking, Iron Man 1 continues to prove that it is the go-to big premiere issue book. This is the one that most people want. Iron Man #1. I guess the other one to rival it would be Silver Surfer 1. And I probably think census-wise, there's quite a few less Silver Surfer 1s than Iron Man 1. I'm just going to guess that's the case because of the black cover. So interesting to see the big premiere battle. Who is the top, Iron Man or Silver Surfer? What do you guys think of the big premiere issues? What is your favorite? I feel like clearly Iron Man 1 and Silver Surfer 1 are like 1A, 1B, depending on the character that you like. Probably Silver Surfer 1, when we're really thinking about it and like what it gives you, is probably more of a true key because of the fact that it is the origin of Silver Surfer, and it's like the first, I think it's like first appearance of Shah LaBeouf and things like that. So you get a little bit of actual key factors in it versus Iron Man #1. It's just the first solo series. You know, it's not technically anything beyond just that, but an amazing cover. Let me see what you guys said here. All right, we got 1 for Iron Man, 1 for Silver Surfer, 2 for Silver Surfer, 2 for Iron Man, 3 for Silver Surfer, 4 for Silver Surfer takes it. Silver Surfer takes it. Well, we do have a 9.6. So this will show us, right? A 9.6 right now is currently sitting at 90. Next bid would be 19,000. So it'll be interesting to see if the 9.6 can beat the 9.8 price. All right, we got a $48,000 sale on the VF copy for Journey into Mystery 83. Definitely puts it into perspective, yeah? We had the Hulk 1 sale was $70K at 70,000 at a 7.5. Journey into Mystery, not as old of a book, but close. And 8.0 sold for half that. Goes to show that, you know, people just want the Hulk book. I think Journey into Mystery, of the main key Silver Age books, this is probably the least desired, unfortunately. But I'd say that that's true. I mean, when we think about tier of character, you know, I think it's fair to say that Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk are higher tier than Thor, right? Even with Chris Hemsworth killing it. All right, 8.0. Last few sales, 66 and 69. We just had a 44. So that's the thing. I mean, again, I'm going to be a broken record here. I'm just going to repeat the talking points. This graph, no matter what the grade, no matter what book you are, you know, no matter what the comps were, this graph should look like this. It should just be slow and steady, going up like that. If at any point your graph went like this and just like went to the moon, you're coming back down. That's just the truth. In 2021, if your graph went to the moon, you're correcting at some point. And so you're bound to be like right here. So this book, you know, went from 28K to 73K. It was just too much, too high, too big of a jump. Had to come back down to 40. So we went, you know, it should have been 20 to 40 to begin with, and then to 60, and then 80, and then 100, and whatever, you know, the ultimate ceiling will inevitably be for a book like that. Let me check back in with chat here. I'm biased because you got the SS Silver Surfer 1. Yeah, I got the Silver Surfer 1. All right, Alex, man. Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Take care, man. All right, let's see here. So we got Silver Surfer 1 coming up. We'll see if we get more bids. Last few books I'm interested in here. Silver Surfer 1. I'm interested in this Tales of Suspense 39, first Iron Man. And then we'll definitely sit until we get to this X-Men book as well. There was actually some higher grades that went for sale earlier. It was a 9.8 of X14 and a 9.0 of X-Men 1. And those books, I'd say, it depends on how you want to look at it. Again, the 14 definitely undersold, and the X-Men 1 proportionally corrected sold. All right, we're going wait here for the Silver Surfer 1. All right, here we go, boys. Here we go. Next bid, $20,000. Oh, wow. That shot up. Look at that. That shot up right there. Somebody had their max bid already set for this book. You know, this is one of those things too, where it's like, this is an old label. So I don't know if there's, you know, some gamblers betting on this one, but maybe they're thinking this is a crack and press candidate. Old CGC label, opportunity to get the 9.8. This is pretty wild. This is competitive right here. This is definitely a competitive book. There are two people that really want this one. So I guess, you know, if you voted for Silver Surfer, this is definitely showing. Nobody wanted to crack and press the 9.8 Iron Man. Let's see. Yeah, going to be a big bump over the last sale. Yeah, it seems like it, right? Because I think the 9.8s are like 50K, right? Like something crazy like that. So this is already like flirting with the 9.8 price. So maybe someone was looking at the high res of this book and trying to analyze if it really did have a 9.8 chance. All right, so what did it sell for? So final price, $45,000. $45,000. That seems like a really big sale for that Silver Surfer one. See here. So this definitely seems to be the king of the big premiere books. King of the big premiere books. Oh, wow. That is a massive sale. So 9.8s, 9 on the census. I actually thought that there was recent sales from the 9.8s. There are no recent sales from the 9.8s. Last sale was 2017. So I think it's fair to say that a 9.8 would sell for probably like 50K today if it did go on sale, being that there are only 9 of them. But with that 9.6 sale, that's huge. It's pretty huge for this. So earlier here in June, that book went for $36,000. This was also an old label. So, maybe people were feeling kind of lucky on some of these old labels right here. Before in 2022, it also went for 23. So this book has done pretty well. Someone bought it fixed price 9.6 and for 31,000 in September of last year. So that is the record price. This is the record price, not only just for that grade, but for the book, because we haven't seen a 9.8 sale go up for some time. So pretty crazy. What do you guys think about that? That's a pretty big one. Yeah. Silver Surfer 1, record in grade. I think it's record period, right? Because I don't think the 9.8 has recently gone up. It's pretty crazy. Wayne with a question here. What do you guys think about this? This is a good question. What is the more important first appearance, FF48 or Hulk 181? I know my answer. I mean, more important first appearance? Obviously, it's FF48 because Hulk 181 is not a first appearance. Uh-oh, I said it. No, I'm just if we are thinking Hulk 181 is a first appearance, then I think Hulk 181 is a more important first appearance, but the census of 181 is higher than FF48. FF48 has a very big census for a Silver Age book. It's probably the highest censused Silver Age book that there is, as far as key Silver Age books are concerned, because of the fact that I think Drew knows about this too. We've talked about this. There was a warehouse find of FF48. So there were quite a few high-grade copy books of that one that surfaced. I don't know how long ago it was, like, 20 years ago or something, 15 years ago. So FF48 is a very high census book, which is one of the reasons why recently we had a FF49 earlier today go on sale. 9.8s, there's only 2 of them. I think FF48 9.8s, there's, off the top of my head, I think there's like 40 or something like that. I'm just guessing, but I think it is around that. And that book sold for basically 200K, which is a lot higher, I think, than the 48 would sell for in the same grade. Unsubscribe. Second appearance of Wolverine. Sorry, I apologize. I prefer FF49 for the first full appearance and cover because I have it. Yeah, no rebound. What's going on, man? I also prefer FF49. Silver Surfer is one of my favorite characters, and I would rather have a 49 than a 48. 49 is probably going to be one of the books that I traded away that got stolen. Of all of those books, the one I really want back for myself in my collection is FF49. If I don't get an FF52 again, that'll suck, but it's fine. If I don't get a Moon Knight Werewolf 32, that's fine. If I don't get a Marvel Spotlight 5, that's fine. 49, I need it back in my collection. I need a 49. Have to have it. I know a guy who used to buy them from Song at Frankensons. This guy had stacks of FF48s. Yeah, stacks. FF49 trumps over FF48, proven today. Yeah, it did have a strong showing. I mean, census-wise, high grade wise, 49 is going to be more rare. It's going to be more competitive. Oh, we got to get back here. Okay, we got the FF, or we got the Tales of Suspense 39 going up right now. Current next bid would be 144.92. Overstreet says that this book is $80,000. Overstreet might be wrong. Actually, with prices correcting, maybe Overstreet is right. Maybe Overstreet, the prices for Overstreet were 100% right. Oh, look at this. Got competitive right here at the end. A lot of bids coming in. This book is shooting up. Somewhere out there, newbie is smiling. But, you know, I wouldn't pay 180 for this copy, guys. This copy is totally worthless. Look at this. This is a crap copy. Look. 0 quotes. No quotes. Totally worthless copy. Let's look at the table. Oh, okay. At least it has blue under the table. Blue under the table. How's the 12 cent? All right, 12 cent is okay. It's in the wrap, okay. But no quotes copy. No quotes. Worthless book right here. Completely worthless. I would never buy a 9.2 with no quotes. No quotes. Worthless. Newbie would smile if you were here. That is completely true. All right. Okay, so final price 168. So 168,000. That does seem like a big sale off the top. I have to look it up. Tales of Suspense 39. And the 9.2 grade. I wonder what the highest is in the census. Is there a 9.8 on the census? Let's find out. So there is one 9.8 on the census. Okay. There's 5 9.6s, 29 4s, and 17 9.2s. So it hasn't been a recent sale in the last year. Okay. I see. Okay. Look at that. So yeah, that is a big sale. It's a big sale. So it looks like record price, a 9.6 in 2017 went for 276. So that seems like that's the second. Oh, no. Okay. So a 9.2 went for 144 in September. 144 in September, fixed price on Heritage. So somebody just flipped their book. Somebody just flipped that for 168. Look at that. You just made $24,000 on your flip. So that was a really strong sale for that book. And this kind of goes back into that conversation that we were talking about with Captain America and Avengers 4, where it's like, you know, you look at a book like Tales of Suspense 39, and it's like, this character is done. And I realize that at this level, I mean, like, are people really speccing on movies? Like, probably not. But obviously there's a factor, right? There is a pop cultural factor, even at the high grade, that matter. But like you look at a book like Tales of Suspense 39, like seems like now is a great time to try to figure out a way to get it because of the fact that it's, well, actually it's some of the low grades. I think that it should actually correct a little bit more. But when you think about like that this character is done, there's no spec value. We're at, like, in theory, we should be at a floor that is a safer floor than when you get into like high-end books like FF4 or like Dr. Doom, you know, like those types of books are like a little bit trickier to figure out where they really want to be, where they really should be, because of the fact that there is this feeling amongst collectors that like, oh yeah, Doom's going to be the next big thing, which I understand that the market is correcting. So those factors are not necessarily as big coming into play as much, but I look at books like Captain America books and Iron Man books, and I think like, yeah, like why not buy an Iron Man 1 right now, right? Because it's like, how much lower will it really, really correct to, considering like, you know, it's got the historical precedent of people holding it. Iron Man is established. No one is like specking on it. So like the people who are buying this book right now are really just buying it to collect, in theory, right? They're not buying it to flip it, you would think. So that's kind of one of the things I think is interesting about the TOS 39. And finding it, but 0 quotes copy, you know, POS. All right. So X-Men 1 here, 8.5, currently sitting at 57,000. This is going to be a weak sale for sure. We had a 9.0 sell earlier today. I think the 9.0 went for 100 and something thousand. which was certainly a lot lower than where it should be. But again, repeating talking points, like it's probably selling where it should have always been selling if you rewind the clock back to pre-2021 craziness. So let's kind of see where this one finishes out. 3 more books up for sale here. We'll talk about a few of these books, or we'll just kind of watch where it finishes. I want to look at the X-Men one. And then I'm going to kind of go back into the last auction and talk about a few other books that sold. Okay, so that one went for $58,800 at the 8.5 level. And that's probably a lot less than where some of the recent sales were at that grade range. And that also is like the psychological difference of like the 8.5 versus the 9.0. Yeah, like that's quite a bit lower than some of the peak prices for this book at the 8.5 range, where somebody got it for $150, fixed price, buy it now. I hope, what is this? You can download some updates. I don't care about that. Definitely a big drop off. Someone bought this one for $150, fixed price, Heritage. I hope that they saw this book as a CPR candidate or something. $144, $132, $121, $78. So actually, whoever bought that got I think they got a good deal, because they basically paid a 2020 price, so that's probably a good, really good buy for them. But X-Men 1, very high census book. Not quite as high as FF48, but I would say of the other key books that are out there, X-Men 1 is one of the highest census key Silver Age books for sure. So that could be due to the fact that X-Men 1 is just, it's that popular. Everybody wants to slab their X-Men 1. I mean, why wouldn't you want to slab it? But at the same time too, I don't know if X-Men 1 sold very well, but it's a #1 issue. So like, I'm sure there were a lot of copies that moved out there, kind of like Daredevil 1, it's like a #1 issue, a lot of copies that just moved out there, versus like Journey into Mystery 83. It's like, how many people were actively following the series Journey into Mystery at that time, versus like, I'm sure that there was a marketing campaign to push X-Men 1 way back in the day, in the 60s. So yeah, that 8.5 was pretty brutal. And here's where you see, like, you look at the 8.0s, someone bought it for 102. So this was another book. Again, it's a perfect example. Like when you look at this graph, that's too high. It's like too much of a jump. Should have always been like this, slow and steady, going up like this. So we're finding ourselves at the cross section, right? Like where it's like 50K was the right price. These were too wild and crazy. So it makes sense to have those books correct back down to where they, always should have been. All right, so that's pretty much the end of the auction. We had another couple X-Men books right here. This X-Men 94, I'm not too worried about this. I mean, what do you guys think about X-Men 94? This is a book that, like, I know a lot of people like it. I personally, like, it doesn't do it for me. But off the top of my head, whatever this price is, $35,000, that seems like a lot for that book. I'm sure that at some point this book probably sold for like $50,000, like a lot of the other Bronze Age keys and things like that. But to pay $38,000 for that book seems like a lot of money to me. When we're thinking about what X-Men 94 really represents, it's like, I mean, second appearance of the X-Men, or first title appearance. Isn't it true? I think some of you guys have mentioned this before. I think it is true that X-Men 94 at a point in time actually was the go-to book for X-Men. Sold higher than Giant Size X-Men #1, which is pretty crazy, overall. All right, so here is that trio of books right here. This FF48 earlier in the day sold for $38,000, and then we just saw that one we watched live, and FF48 96 sell for I think it was like $28,000, so $10,000 less, which is, that's gotta hurt. I mean, like it's not even been an hour, and you've already lost $10,000 on your purchase. That's pretty wild. This was the big sale, FF49. God, beautiful. 9.8 copy. Now, the problem with this, I'm just noticing this right now. What do you guys see right there? Off-white to white. Can you believe that? Like CGC, Matt Nelson. I don't know if you graded this book, but come on, man. You're going to give me a 9.8, but you're going to give me off-white to white. You're not even going to give me white pages. Oh, that hurts. Because is the other book on the census white pages? Like, how bad would you feel? Because, like, technically speaking, it's like, yeah, there's 2 9.8 grades. It's the top of census. Oh, here we go. Old label. Oh, no. It's old label, but it's got white pages, guys. White pages. Oh, no. You bought the 9.8 for $200K, but your book doesn't have white pages. So you're not top of census. Well, this begs the question. Would you guys rather have new CGC label off-white to white or old CGC label with white pages? What do you guys think? Old CGC label with white pages, new label off-white to white. Noob here. What is so good about white pages? I mean, Mike, it's just one of those things. Like, look, I personally don't care about page quality. I mean, like, you know, there's some degree that matters in page quality, but like people just, you know, they want the best of the best of the best, right? So the interior pages, you know, white is the, you know, highest quality of pages. Then it goes off-white to white, then off-white, then cream, then tan, and then brittle, or whatever the case is. So, you know, when you have a book, there's only 2 on the census, FF49s. And so you would think that you're buying top of census, but you're not. This one has white pages. White pages, someone will always, like even just the poll, right? You guys are saying it here. White, you'd rather have white pages, old label with white, old label with white, old label with white, old label with white. Old, you know, so it's like, it's one of those like, old, you know, old with white for the win. You know, it's one of those like, you didn't buy the top census. You get the second best FF49 book because of the white pages. It's pretty wild. White page, crack, resubmit to EGS. Yeah, you might have to go for it. You know, that's the thing. You can't CPR off white to white pages. Can't CPR them. Page quality matters to me in Silver Age lower grades because of longevity. Yeah, no, that's an interesting point too, right? Because when you're talking about like the ability for the book to, you know, last over the next, you know, handful of years, especially when, like you said, when you're at that low grade and it's like the book is kind of falling apart, you know, like the page quality, it's like at least you know that it's going to hold together okay. There's my encapsulated bacteria page book. Terrible book. Off-white to white pages, POS. But price-wise, I'd rather have a 0.5 missing an ad page with a clean cover. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Snow White all day. Yeah. Snow White all day. New labels are no good anymore after 2022. Not liking the new labels. I don't know how you guys feel. Like, it would never really affect a book I buy, but like I do much prefer the new labels. Mike, oh, thank you so much, man, with the chat here. $5 super chat. I feel like people are buying the labels, not the books. Well, people are certainly buying the labels when it comes to those custom labels. But actually, that's interesting. What do you guys think? Are you guys fans of the custom labels? Do you feel like that adds a little bit of a premium? Like if you were getting your Grail FF49 and you know you got the FF custom label book, do you guys like those things? I think sometimes they're cool, but I actually personally don't like it because if you'll notice on the custom labels, you lose this info, which is, you know, that info that says first full appearance of Galactus, second appearance of Silver Surfer. They take this info and they put it on the back of the label. Now, it's not really a problem, right? It's like, I know what the book is. I don't need to be told the book. But I do think that there's something kind of cool about that, especially when, like, if people come over and they're like interested and they don't know about comics and they're like asking me about my comics, I can like kind of tell them, it's like, oh, you know, you can read the labels and this is all the info. And I think there's something kind of nice about being able to see the actual significance of the book, you know, written on the book. I hate the custom labels. Yeah. It adds $5. Yeah, totally. It literally adds $5. So it should be $5 more expensive. All right, let's take a look. Just last couple sales here. That is funny. I did not realize that was off-white to white pages. That's pretty rough. So here was this Incredible Hulk book. This one went for $90,000. We had a second one sell for $96,000. And with the 181s, there's a few of them. There's quite a few of them. So we had some massive sales for a couple of the books, but they're too high. They're way too high for what they sold for. So this one we had a 138 on Heritage. This was just a massive sale. And then we had this one right here, 102. So if you lose those two, then I'd say the sales that happened recently are really not that bad. They're totally fine. Like we had a 90 and a 96, I think. So we had a 90 here, and an 86 here, a 96 before that, an 84, a 98, and 84. Generally speaking, to me, 84, 90, 95, whatever, it's all the same. It's all the same, relatively speaking. This 138 is definitely a big sale, but there is always the possibility that this book has to correct more, right? We've been talking about the trend line, right? It should be slow and steady moving up like this. 90 is still high. So maybe where it wants to be is here and be selling more around that. I guess you would say $70,000 range would probably be a more realistic number. But what could also happen, if people are excited about Wolverine, there's nothing to say that we don't just trade sideways for a time, right? Like maybe our graph just looks like this for the entirety of 2023, where it's like you get an 84 and then you get a 70 and then you get a 90 and then you get like a 95 and then you get a 77, and it just kind of goes like that until eventually, at some point in 2026 starts to consistently hit the $100,000 price point. If it is determined that comic books continue to go up in value, which there's nothing to say that they will continue to go up in value. There were some other interesting things here. This Marvel Comics 1 definitely seemed like a pretty weak sale. It went for $223. I think a 2.5 went for like 300 or something at some point, or maybe it was like a 3.5 went for 300 or something. But generally a pretty weak sale. Feels like that could have gotten more. The Superman 1 was an okay sale, 288, probably right in line. This 9.8 Turtles, another book that went too high. It shot up to 250 in summer of 2021, and then is going back to where it should have been selling this whole time. Wargren's Crime right here, 11 or 10. I love this book. This is absolutely a book I would love to pick up for myself at some point. First appearance of the Vault Keeper, but I just like it. I just like the cover. I'm a fan of like these covers where, consistently I tend to like a lot of these covers that like have the it's like a person, they're holding the newspaper, and the newspaper is reflecting the story of the dialogue that the two people are talking about. And he's got the gun behind his hand. It's a Johnny Craig cover. I love this thing. It's so cool that it is a pedigree copy. Look at that label. The label in contrast to the yellow and black. So cool. So freaking cool. This is another big book, The Spirit 22. This Detective Comics book, this was huge. This was a huge one. 168. Sorry about that one. And then I think I talked about these ones earlier, but this one was massive. I mean, first Red Hood, Origin of the Joker. This is top of census, 9.4 white pages, 324,000. This was a big boy sale. Detective Comics 168. What do you guys think about this one? You guys fans of this book? This was top of census, 9.4, and a 7.0 went for 31K. So it's hard to like price this, right? Because it's top of census, but like relatively speaking, I mean, $300,000 is wild for that one. But when you're top of census, you're top of census. Whatever you want is whatever the price is the price. So pretty crazy overall. Let me check back in with the chat here. Created. Really hoping collectibles don't crash yet. I have an ultra high end item on Heritage at the moment, hoping it breaks records. I hope it breaks records for you too. I mean, I think it depends. It really all depends on I guess what some of the recent comp prices were. Feels like there's still demand, there's still desire, and I think a lot of people are just kind of looking for the prices to kind of level off. At least in terms of comic books, we've done the work, we've looked at it. We know things are kind of back in the trend line, and it feels like that's probably where they should be. And I'm personally of the opinion, at least this is what I do for myself, is if you are a book that is selling close to your 2020 price or maybe a little bit more, then yeah, I might consider picking you up if it's a book that I want. So I don't think collectible prices, I don't think they're going to crash. It depends on how we want to evaluate a crash. Like if we're looking at the 2021 price, setting this crazy record, and then seeing where it sells now, and we want to call that a crash, then yeah, then everything is going to crash. But like if it's relatively speaking, I think it's all going to hold up well. And really, this is the thing I think is really interesting, and a question I would just sort of ask, do we think there are more collectors, since we're a comics channel, we're going to say comic book collectors. Do we think that there are more comic book collectors interested in comics in 2022 than there were in 2020? Right? Like certainly the 2021 boom must have pulled a lot of people into collecting, interested in comic books, into the hobby. And just like as like kind of a macro, just like wide eye look, like, do we think that there are more, like, obviously there's been a lot of churn, people leaving, right, in 2021, checking out. But do we think in the year 2022 and 2023, there are more people interested in comic books than in 2020? If there is, then just from a volume percentage wise, like the prices probably won't go less than 2020 prices, simply due to the amount of people that are just in the hobby. So it'll be interesting to see. If there are less collectors now, then yeah, then prices might go lower. So it's pretty interesting to think about. Food for thought. Let's see. Way more collectors now. Yeah, Wayne. I mean, there's probably way more collectors now, and just simply due to the fact that there's more people buying, or there's more people in the hobby, the prices will likely be higher than that of 2020 and 2019. I mean, they could still correct below, right? Like, I mean, 2023, we could all go to zero, right? Like it could be really, really tough time for a lot of people if the economy thing, continues. But I think that the demand will still be there at some point. At some point, it'll go like this, right? Like we'll see our Silver Age index go like this, and maybe test some floor levels. But at a certain point, it's going to go like this again. I mean, you would think. 99K on that ASM 50. Yeah. All-time record sale right there. 99K, hitting that six-figure range. Pretty wild overall. But a cool book. I mean, I think that there's only 8 on the census for this one. So, it's a great book. It's an all-time classic. Like even beyond the fact that it is the Kingpin first appearance, I think a lot of people would argue that this is one of the best Spider-Man covers ever drawn, right? Ever made. So it's an all-time classic. I mean, it's got to be a top 5 cover, right? For Spider-Man, top 3 maybe, depending on who you ask. I think there are more spec buyers and resellers than collectors personally. Well, that is interesting. I do think that there are more resellers now than there probably were in 2020. So it is interesting to think about that. If the floor prices are going to hold, you're going to need people to hold books, right? Like, I mean, it's not rocket science, right? So it's like you got to, there at a certain point, there have to be collectors that want to hold the book if the floor price will hold. So it'll be interesting to see, how that affects the market. I think a lot of the resellers, though, are like mostly in sort of the variant game and more of like the spec books and things like that, more of the modern stuff. Like clearly there's resellers in vintage stuff, but I mean, how many people are like fully Silver Age spec reselling? maybe a lot, maybe not. When the crash comes, the whales like Jim Halpern is going to buy up all the ultra rare, high graded stuff on the cheap. That's true, man. You got to buy the dip. You got to swoop it all up. Wasn't that like a Dwight? Dwight was like, what does he do? Like spec on the toys, the Christmas toys. No need to Chicken Little. Most Silver and Bronze Age comics are worth more than they were in 2019 and 2020. Stay away from the current gimmicky stuff and you'll do okay. Soccer vids, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. It'll be interesting. I mean, a lot of people say, and I think you could make this argument. I don't know. I have no idea. A lot of people say that they think that 2018, 2019, 2020 prices were inflated. I don't know if that's true because, you know, and we've looked at numbers. We've done this work. It's, again, comics are not perfect. It's hard to really find out how much these numbers are accurate. Like you only have so much data to work off of. But if you actually do the math and you go rewind the clock and you think about comic books incrementally increasing in value, it has been a consistent 15 to 20% year-over-year return. Of course, I'm only ever talking about the key vintage stuff. I'm only ever talking about those comics. I'm not talking about books that blow up like White Vision, you know, and this is all prices in a vacuum, right? This is all prices in a vacuum. We're talking about GPA, fair market value, floor prices, being able to buy it at that, and then hold it for a certain amount of time. So it's interesting to say, a lot of people say that even the prices in 2019 and 2020 were inflated. We're going to test that. We're certainly going to find out. You know, this is why I do the index and why I think it's so interesting, is because, again, it's not perfect. It is 100 points of data. So, you know, anything can happen, but we will test. We will test the theory. We will see if the bottom drops out. Any tips for someone who's interested in dabbling into trying to sell some higher end comics? What comic ages should we stick to? Is it basically a Marvel only club? No, Mike, I don't think it's a Marvel only club at all. I mean, there are tons of people who love DC comics. There are tons of people who love Golden Age stuff that are, you know, have nothing to do with Marvel or DC, the big two. You know, I think for selling comics, it's a tough grind, but a lot of people do it, and a lot of people do very, very well. Any tips? I mean, with me, with selling comics, like I only sell a little bit of my own collection from time to time, just to sort of help make the hobby pay for itself, or to, you know, trade into books that I eventually really want. And for me, I just think of it as it's like your overall sales. That's what I always try to remind myself. Like, sometimes you're going to take losses on books. Sometimes you're going to win big on certain books. And really, you just want to be in the green more often than you're in the red, right? So I will happily sell a book at a loss from time to time if I think that I can use that capital to pick up something else that I want, or you know, move it into something else that I think is going to appreciate more than the book that I'm holding or whatever it is. So I would just say, you know, as you get into selling and stuff, like, just try to have more wins than you can. You know, don't let books come to you. Don't overbuy. Don't get too crazy. There will always be another copy, and I think you'll do well. Let's see here. Just checking in with the chat guys here. There have been a bunch of people that came into the hobby during the boom from other areas like crypto and sports cards that helped create the boom. They seem to have left. Yeah, I do think that there was, for sure, some people that moved from other card areas. Shout out to Neo Cards and Comics. Great YouTube channel. If you guys don't know, you should definitely check out Neo Cards. I actually think I have everyone's description. A lot of people who jump on the channel, their channels are in the description. But yeah, he's somebody who he loves comics, but he's also got, like, you know, a big sports background, and he will definitely say, like, there was a lot of people that looked at the sports card market, that were in the sports card market, that looked into comics, also looked into Marvel cards, which is a whole other thing as well. And there's people that, you know, people made a lot of money in crypto, or maybe they made a lot of money in stocks, or maybe they made the run or whatever. And you take your gains in one area and you put it into another area, and you're like, I'm going to just buy this vintage comic. It's like, you know, you get Logan Paul money, and you're just like, I'm just going to buy this Pokemon card. Like, I don't care. So there is a lot of that. It's interesting with the FTX thing because it's like, I wonder how much correlation between comic prices is there to crypto. I don't know. Like, obviously there's correlation because 2021, everything went crazy, but like there's correlation in everything, right? So it's like housing, stocks, crypto, collectibles, whatever it is, right? Everything was correlated. So it just seemed like people were buying more stuff, and now people have less money to buy more stuff. And so prices are all correcting, like even housing. I made a video that was titled like, "There's no place to hide," right? There's nothing you can put your money in right now that isn't going to feel some type of correction. And similarly, there was nothing you could buy that wasn't going to go up in value in 2021. So it's pretty crazy. I believe the John Romita Sr. books will hold value over time. Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's a lot of factors when you like think about comics in terms of like, there's obviously some spec value, right? Like, books are as valuable as they are relevant to pop culture, I always say. But there's also like a historical performance, right? Historical factors matter as well. And I would say that like artists have historical significance, right? There's a precedent for people who love John Romita art and want to have John Romita books and like to have them in their collection. So therefore, as people catch wind of John Romita and get more interested in him, you are adding to the pot of people who already like the John Romita books. So I think that those types of things are safe bets because there's a precedent for people who like and appreciate his art. Should have a good amount of liquidity so you can take care of opportunity. You can take opportunities 100%. You got to be cash is king at this current moment in time, and you just got to know when to deploy. If you see that opportunity, it's a good time to get it, no matter what it is, right? Whatever you're buying, real estate, stocks, comics. Swag, just getting back in comics since the 90s and found your channel. Just wanted to say thank you for the videos. You keep it real and always insightful. Thanks, Beavis. I'm glad you found the channel and glad you enjoy it, man. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to have the channel and talk comics, and hopefully, you guys enjoyed the videos. The boom was caused by crypto investors selling at the high just before the lockdown. They quickly went another avenue, comics, video games. Yeah, it's possible, but the crypto boom is completely correlated with the comics too. So it's I think it's just a lot of other interchanging of money. It's kind of like what I said, like everything kind of went crazy. There's a lot of correlation with everything. And so I think that the crypto was definitely a factor, but maybe not the only factor. Also, the other factor too is it's like, at that time, things were still kind of locked down. So I think about like how a lot of stuff was just bottlenecked, right? Like there were two places to buy. You had eBay and you had Heritage or auction houses, right? Like those were the only two avenues. Even at that time, like claim sales were not really a thing. Whatnot was not really a thing. Other places to buy were not really a thing. There were no comic book shows to go to. Like some people could not go to LCSs because things were still locked down. So if you wanted a book in that particular time frame, you were pigeonholed to have to buy it through those two channels. Those are the only two channels you could do it: eBay and auction houses. And that bottlenecked a lot of people. And that's probably part of the reason why a lot of the prices were setting records. 9.6 Avengers 8 is live now. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back. You might be right here. There are more. Live auction in 7. Is it this one? Live auction in 3 hours. Let's take a look. Is that the case? Because I feel like this one starts in 2 minutes. Oh, I see. Oh, so there's more. So we're going golden age, guys. We're going golden age soon. A lot of cool stuff coming up. Oh, wow. I see. Wait, let me go down here. Avengers 1, 2, 8. I see. So yeah, there is definitely some big stuff coming up soon. The 9.0. Wow. Okay. We'll see how long I go. I don't know if I'm going to follow the entire auctions, but we'll jump in for a bit. We'll jump in for a bit on that. It's going to be a lot of Golden Age books, a lot of Cap stuff. Best places to find good stuff. Yeah, I mean, comics shops are hit and miss, right? It's tough. You got to find the right kind of comic shops to go to. Cons are also okay, but a lot of cons have a lot of prices marked up because, you know, dealers got to get their money back on all the books they bought in 2021. So it's hard. I mean, I think auctions, honestly, you know where the biggest steals are right now? Live auction eBay or auctions on eBay. Those are the biggest steals. Like if you're someone, like, let's say you have like a book like ASM 3, First Doctor Octopus, and you just like let it rip on a 7-day auction on eBay. Those tend to be the ones that like people like, those are the biggest steals right now. Cause I think people are just not watching. And even like Heritage, which like generally speaking has a smaller pool of people who are like watching the auction, everyone who is on Heritage is hardcore, right? Like everyone who's on Heritage is like a serious buyer who is actually watching. So they know the values. Like people are going to pay what they feel like is good value. Whereas like on eBay, if like no one is paying attention at the time for like ASM 3, and it's like a auction that ends at like 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, like there are a lot of steals you can get, especially like raw stuff too. If it's just like kind of like a cool Silver Age key, you know, you look at an auction, like you'll find a good deal. Like let's say you wanted like Thor 165, like first full appearance of him, like Warlock, you know, I'm sure there's raw books that are going up for auction that end at like 3 a.m. and you know, go for steals. So those are good places to look right now, in my opinion. Let me kind of situate this here. Oh God, disable live bidding. I am so worried to hit bid at some point. I'm so worried to hit bid. All right, these are some big guys. We got some big books coming up. We've got some big books coming up. Let me quickly scroll through the chat, see if there's anything I just wanted to see here. Send you a question on one of his. I sent you a question on one of your videos. Is it better to put your eggs in one basket with one comic title or spread out your purchases with different titles? Well, it's hard to say. I think there's only one title that you, in theory, could say, I'm going to go all in on this title, and that is Amazing Spider-Man. I think that's the only title. Like, let's say if you and me had a competition, and you were like, all right, we both got $5,000. And you were going to spend $5,000 on ASM books, and I was going to spend $5,000 on key Silver Age books, Marvel, that are not ASM. Who would have better returns? Like, it's possible that just buying ASM would yield you better returns than picking out keys of other books. I mean, it all depends. There's so many variables, but that's the only title where I think that could possibly hold up. Other than that, if we're talking about return on your investment and money, I mean, you just have to buy keys. Like, that's really what it comes down to, is keys, highest grade you can for the best deal you can, first appearances, first solo title books, you know, but really first appearances, you know, the key books, mainly sticking to superheroes, not supervillains, but it all just depends on what you're buying. I treat comics like I'll never see a dime of my money back, and I like it that way. It's never supposed to be a big business. Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. You know, I personally only buy comics. I personally only spend money that, like, it's okay if I lose it. You know, it's not something I really talked about in my scam video, you know, but it is something that I probably would share, where it's like, does it suck that I lost $5,000 of comics? Yeah, 1,000% sucks. But at the same time, it's like it's okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not life or death, and it's money that is okay if I lose it. And that's really, I think, kind of how we should approach comics. Oh, more Golden Age books. Yeah, here we go. Scrolling through the chat here. Scrolling through the chat. I'm just gonna catch up with the chat. We'll catch up with the chat. Like, I don't want to be like too far behind, because I've found myself in situations where like I'm like way behind and then I'm not part of the conversation. So we'll just scroll up and then I'll scroll back up and we'll see. So you should have your own type of heritage kind of auction on your channel with other collectors, giving you a small percentage of the books. So for more people will get their books seen. I mean, I've had claim sales on my channel before, and some people have inquired about like doing sales on my channel and stuff. But like, I just, like, I don't want to be like an Elite Comics 11, you know what I mean? Like, because then it's like, there's obviously some responsibility I then owe, some guarantee. Like, what if you buy a book on my channel and then like the buyer flakes or whatever, or you get to pay, like, do I owe the money? See, I won't say I will never do it, but it's just one of those, like, where it's like all of a sudden it's like now I'm in like the comic dealer business. You're right. It's like it becomes like a whole thing. Action Comics #2. This is a cool book. This is a super cool book. It's one of those, like, it's hard to. Oh, that is dangerous. It's hard with these types of books because it's like, it's not a superhero book, not necessarily like a key. It's the second appearance of Superman. He's not on the cover though, but this is still a badass book. Got like the James Bond style cover with the guy jumping out of the plane. Currently at 33,000. Okay, let me see what kind of books we have here. Like, how long have we been going on the stream? I do at some point probably have to go back, do some work. But I do want to watch a few books. Maybe we can go up to like some of these weird tales. But Captain America Restored might be cool. Oh, I love this Captain America book. Captain America 3 is so awesome. Like another Chamber of Chills copy. Oh my God, an 8.0 Chamber of Chills. Crime Patrol. That's a sick book too. Maybe we'll go through this Detective Comics 168 again, just to see, and then kind of see where we're at. We're going to get a lot of other books. I mean, a lot of these Marvel comic books are going to be crazy. Punch Comics, it's going to be crazy. What else we got here? Tomb of Terror is going to be crazy. I'm going to get Albedos. Get another 9.6 ASM 50. Holy crap. Got a 9.0 Avengers 1. Got the there you go. The 9.6 Avengers Kang. Guys, we got a lot of books. People got a lot of money they're spending. I mean, we're at $8 million here in this auction. There's a lot of money going around in comic books. A lot of people throwing around money in their collectible hobby. All right, so we go up there and then, yeah, okay. Is there anything in this Marvel lot that I really want to pay attention to? I mean, at least that's like we should be live for. I think this is fine. 9.4 Fantastic 452 would be kind of cool to see, but we've kind of already seen those. We got a Daredevil 9.4, Okay, maybe we can go to the Avengers books because I am curious to see the Avengers books, but let's see. Where are we at right now? Okay, so the Action Comics one went for $31K. We had this All Select Comics went for 21. And here we go. First appearance of Wonder Woman. Were these week sales? 6.5 went for 60. You had two of them sell back to back. Again, another situation where it's like, why are we selling two back to back? I mean, it's 6.5 and a 3.0, so maybe that's okay. But let's take a look at this. We had the $1 million sale earlier in the year. We have a All-Star Comics 8 at a 6.5. was it, did that say it was slightly something? Slightly restored? Slightly brittle pages. Okay. 651 for 60. That doesn't seem good at all. Yeah, that's pretty weak, right? Yeah, that's super weak. 651 for 92,000, guys. 651 for 92,000. This is one of those things. Look, I'm not saying that Golden Age isn't the best place to put your money. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, and what I will always say, is there are no guarantees. Okay? There are no guarantees. Any book can come down in value if there are not the right people at the right time who are looking to buy the book, and you have to liquidate it. Because that Wonder Woman sale is pretty weak. Pretty weak overall. The 3.0 went for 37,000. So where are we at with the 3.0? 3.0, 37,000. So that maybe that's more proportional to where it wants to be, right? 4.0 went for 49,000. So hard to kind of price. 2020 3.0 was 24,000, and then that seems like that's an okay price, like, or that's like right slight kind of incremental amount. It's actually a decent incremental amount. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe the brittle pages, people just don't like their brittle pages. I feel like on Golden Age books, it doesn't really matter, you know. But 60K, I'd say, is pretty low for a 6.5 of that book. That seems pretty bad. Yeah, 60K seems low. 60K is good value. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, like, you know, if you still have that book, it's still a massive, massive book. And even if you're somebody who bought it, whatever it was, like $90,000 3 years ago, just keep holding. You know, just keep holding. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Some nice Batman 2 for $15,000. That seems pretty low. I mean, I don't know what a Batman 2 is worth at a 5.5, but I just would have thought more off the top of my head. I guess that's no. Well, 5.0 went for 17 a year ago and 15 90 days ago, and so this one slightly higher went for 15. So yeah, it seems like not a crash, but like not the best. It could have maybe done. A lot of cool Batman books. This is kind of a fun one when they're playing chess. Like, it's funny with the Batman books because I feel like a lot of the Batman books, like there's a lot of the covers are goofy, you know, like this kind of dips a little bit into that kind of goofy cover, but it's a fun goofy. Some of the Joker covers that are like too silly, like I don't know if I personally would like them, but you know, they're also kind of fun as well. Like this is one where it's like, I don't know, guys. I don't know about, you know, Batman 49, you know, Genie Joker. Like, it's not my favorite. This is a badass one though. Batman 42. This is a super cool cover. Ahead of its time, turning the page right there. Catwoman coming out of the comic book page. Very, very cool. You know, very creative, especially at the time. You know, 1947. Yeah, that Wonder Woman. That Wonder Woman was a tough one. You know, it could be interesting to see, you know, where some of these prices land with this auction as we continue to go on. Man, I wish I had $30,000 to spend on this book right here. 5.0 restored for 30. Doesn't seem bad. I mean, I'm sure that this is going to be bid up quite a bit, but doesn't seem like a bad starting point right now for this book. To get a Captain America 1, even if it is restored, under 6 figures, seems like a good pickup, you know? Because like 1.0s were 36 in 2017. So I'm curious. Like this could be a really good value buy for someone to get that Captain America Comics #1. Let's see. Joker looks good as a fortune teller. To each their own. To each their own. As a seller, I'm being more careful with capital, investing in Golden, ASM, X-Men, Daredevil, Silver, Bronze, going back to blue chip, tried and true sellers. Yeah, I think you stick to the blue chips, you stick to the gold. And Golden Age, what's great about Golden Age is the censuses are so low that there's people are not going to be able to undercut you, right? They're not going to be able to undercut your prices, which is why it's a lot of times safer to focus on those Golden Age books. But that's the other thing too, is like you have to be willing to hold, right? Like you saw like with the Wonder Woman book, like someone had to liquidate it or they just decided to sell it today and it didn't get the price that it got last time. So you have to still be willing to hold, and when you run an auction, there's always the risk, right? Like the market is wherever the market is at the time, as opposed to like, you can just be a dealer. You can have your sticker price. You can say, this is my price. And I'm going to wait for the person to buy. And that's my price. Hey, Neil Cards Comics in the house. I stole your thumbnail. I'm sorry, Neil. But you should know that I mentioned you multiple times in the stream already. So I might have took it you're going to zero saying, I apologize, but I did give you credit. And we will recognize that Neo is the first person to tell you that sports cards are going to zero. So now comics are going to zero. We're watching them go to zero in real time. Shout out to Neo. If you guys don't know or you weren't here when I was talking about him last time, go check out his link. I think it's actually still in the description because I just copy pasted from the last live stream. Great sports cards, very, very knowledgeable. Talked about comic books too. So always good to hear his perspective on things. Yeah, I'm interested in some of these Cap books. I wish we could fast forward the auction. Chamber Chills, that's always fun to look at. Crime Patrol, and then maybe, it's going to take a little while to get to the Avengers. So we'll see. This Punch Comics one is interesting as well. The Startling Comics right here. You got the Bender cover. This is going to be cool. Like 9.2 for Bender. That'll be interesting to see what that sells for. I don't know if 9.2 is the highest on the census, but it's got to be up there. It's got to be up there for sure. This is another one. This item has been withdrawn. You guys know about the suspense book right here with the what's it called? The sacrifice of the Ku Klux Klan or whatever. That book is pretty crazy. Let's see here. Superheroes are cool, but Western heroes just don't do it for me. I can smell the gun smoke through the pages. Not very on topic, but I see you rock Team Liquid merch and vids here and there. You into esports swag? Yeah, I do like esports. I've done a lot of work for a lot of esports teams and Riot Games and things like that. So I'm in that space from time to time, and so I have a lot of Team Liquid merch. So that's why you end up seeing me wear it from time to time. All right, weird. Yeah, a lot of the blue bolt stuff here. I'm not super versed in this stuff, but I have seen a lot of the stuff before. I'm sure a lot of these types of books where it's like you don't have like, maybe these aren't the ones that are like the big keys that people are looking for, but these are the ones that's like, how often do these come up for sale? Probably been a few years. So a lot of these are going to set record prices simply due to the fact that, the rate of inflation is going to cause the prices to go up regardless. All right, we're coming up on the Captain America Comics 1. If this book sells for like less than 50 grand, I'm going to be sad. Because to me, it's like, dude, if I had 50 grand to throw out a comic right now, Cap Comics 1, that'd be sick. That'd be awesome. This one's another one too. I love this one. First Red Skull cover. First classic Red Skull cover. First time he's on the cover. First Stanley work for Timely. And then just another badass Captain America cover here. This is one of my favorites. This is probably outside of number one. This is probably my second favorite Captain America Comics cover. And this would be one I'd be totally happy having a low grade restored for. And this might be a good deal too. I mean, $5,600, probably a pretty good price for that. Because I've seen a couple of people list it for way, way, way higher than that. Yeah, Captain America 3 is an all-time classic. Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's definitely on my want list. Definitely on my want list. Right. The lowest price available on eBay is around $15K. Yeah, all restored. Yeah, like this is like that time, right? You know, like this seems like if you're somebody who always wanted this and you have the money, this is probably going to be one of the best deals that you can get for this book right now, because it'll go at the true floor price. Ty, when is your Kickstarter launch? Thank you for asking. Very soon. So I am waiting on a couple variant covers to be finished. The book is, I mean, it's finished writing. It's all drawn. It's all colored. It's all lettered. So I just need a couple of variant covers to be finished so that I can then launch the campaign, so that if people want to get those variant covers, they can see what they are getting. So I'm hoping very, very soon as it's ready to go, I will launch it. So a week, 2 weeks, something like that. But I will definitely keep you guys posted. All right. Captain Arrow Comics. And then we're getting to Captain America here. Comic Keeper, yes. Comic Keeper, yes. I did write a comic book. I talked a little bit about it in a couple other videos, but it's not totally public facing yet. But I do have a pre-launch page. We can do this, right? My pre-launch page for it. If you guys want to go over there and maybe sign up for notifications for when it comes out. It's a Lovecraftian pulp adventure comic book. If you're into kind of like the Agatha Christie, Lovecraft, Golden Age horror vibes, you might enjoy it. I'm very, very proud of it, and I'm hoping you guys might consider checking it out. All right, here we go. Captain America Comics 1, 5.0 restored. Should I bid? $31K with a buyer's premium. Okay, we got a few bids coming in. So the Heritage Live, when it pops up like that, that's my, I'm thinking that someone's like max auto bid, right? Because it came in, someone bid, and then it popped up. So somebody went, had the auto bids. Okay. It's going up to 50 now, going up to 50, which I still think 50 is a pretty good price, because if we look at it, wait a minute. All right, let me watch first. Let me not get ahead of myself here. Bid, you fool. I know I should bid. I'm getting FOMO. Up to 60,000, guys. All right. I mean, when we're at 60,000, it's like, all right, well, I don't think this is not a book that it's going to be like, oh, I regret. I mean, obviously I'm going to regret it, but it's not like it I on a whim am willing to bid $66,000 for a comic book. Oh, wow. Look at this. This is competitive, guys. This is competitive. We are now at 78,000. This is a very, very competitive bid. This is where you have the two people, right? Where it's like, we started at 30, somebody wanted it, and then this other person wanted it, and they're just sitting in the room, they're just bidding. You know what I mean? It's going to close, I think. I think that's probably the end for this one. What do we got? fair warning. Fair warning. It's going to be a $70,000 bid. The other thing is too, is like, I know this doesn't really count, but you know, 78,000 isn't the full take home price. Okay. 72,000. Yeah. That's a lot. I mean, you can see for sure. This is a book that, like, for the most part, like, you got to be at six figures to get in on this book at this point, right? Because the 3.0 sold for 144. And then even in 2020, the 2.0 are selling for 90. And it's just like, maybe you can find a 1.0, but this 1.0, so it's a 0.5 went for 40K in 2020. So you're already at that point. And, you know, frankly, 72,000 for a 5.0. And what is the restoration on this? Color touch piece. Okay. So quite a lot of restoration. So it's not like you're going to CPR this thing, but you know, 70,000, 72,000. And that's not necessarily the take home price. You still got to pay tax and all that stuff, right? So it's, you know, you're paying 10% tax. It's going to be like 80,000, you know, walk away price for sure. All right. Where are we with this one? 57.60. This is a good price for this book. 6,600. Okay. Now here we go. It's getting competitive here. Fair warning. No, somebody came in right at the last second. Here we go. Will this hit 10K? How bad do people want it? It's one of the most badass books, you know. Oh, got another one. It's closing. She's calling it. Or is she? And closed. $8,700. $8,700. I mean, when we're talking about getting in that book, $8,700 is still a lot of money, but let's take a look at some of the recent sales for this thing. 8,000 for a 9.0 restored. Wow, so this is a weird sale right here. Is this real? A 9.0 restored? This can't be. Is this like a fake cover or something? Pieces added. It's a centerfold. It's fine. I don't even know how to explain that sale, considering this went for 26,000, the same book. And then this is, there's no way that this is right. This is just like inaccurate. Go collect. Classic inaccurate. Go collect data right there. I'm not buying that as real. So a restored 5.5 went for 16,000. We just had the 4.0 go for 8,000. So it's probably a pretty good price, to be honest, because this 4.0 qualified went for 10,000. So we got the 4.0 restored. I personally would rather have a 4.0 restored than a 4.0 qualified. Yeah. So 88 is not bad, right? Like 8,800. That's really not that bad. Like, I feel like that's someone got a good deal on that for sure. Sadly, it's not going to be me. Sadly, it wasn't going to be me. Let's kind of go back here. Last couple auctions. I might wrap it up somewhat soon, guys, because of the fact that this is actually going to take a little while to get through all these cap books. All right, let's get through. Let's get through Detective Comics 31. Let's get through Detective Comics 31. One of the coolest Batman covers there is in all of Batman covers. The all-time classic, the one that Neil Adams later did. You know, the people really love this thing. 1.5 just to get in on this book. It's going to cost you $50,000. So we can kind of go up to this, but I'm not as interested in the cap books. Let's see if these just fly by. Let me check in with the chat. I really don't understand qualified either. A book is or it isn't. Yeah, I mean, it's funny too. Like with the qualified, like I wonder if it's like what's the emotional feeling of having a restored book versus a qualified book? Like where a qualified feels like, well, you're incomplete. You know, you're not a real book. Whereas like a restored book feels like, hey, some kid was really mean to you back in the day, and someone put some tender, loving care into this book in order to make you representable back into the market. So there's something like emotionally, I feel like is a little bit different about restored versus qualified. I don't know if that's true. I mean, you could also make the argument that maybe restored is like someone was trying to dupe you. Like they were like, I'm totally going to color touch this thing and no one's going to know that I restored it. So you could have that feeling of it as well. But personally, just off the top, I think that I would rather have a restored copy than a qualified copy. Bro, this stream is making me feel broke as hell. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. It's funny when you like get into these numbers. You're like, dude, $8,800 was a steal. It's like, it's all just fake numbers at this point. You know, who really cares? $8,000 comic book, nobody cares. All right, let's get through some of these Cap books. What else we got here? It's funny with the Cap books. Like I spent a lot of time staring at Cap covers because Cap is one of my favorite characters, and so I'm always interested in buying some Cap books. I spent a lot of time staring at Cap covers, and I gotta say, there's really like not that many that I love in this entire run. It's like it goes like Cap 1, probably one of the greatest covers of all time, and then Cap 3, badass, and then you get to like Cap 46 or whatever, where it's like the Red Skull. You could tell they were starting to get into the pre-code horror territory. And that one is awesome too. And then all these books in here in between just looks like a lot of these covers are just kind of like jambalaya to me. You know, it's like a lot going on. There's a lot going on in these covers. I don't know where to look. No offense to Kirby, but like it's just my eye, like it's doing this with a lot of these covers. Like where do I go? You know, this one's pretty cool actually. Cap 6, you know, good old Captain America punch to the face of a Nazi with a skull right there. Pretty cool. But they are very busy. They are very busy with a lot of these Cap books. So it's like sort of hard to kind of like figure out which ones I really, really do love. But this one, blocking wise, feels pretty good. You got Cap front and center. You got a nice little bullet ricochet off of the shield. You got a nice punch, dynamic arc right there. You got a skull on the cover. You got Bucky tied up. So there's some good stuff going on in this one. There's some good stuff going on in this one. Early Thor appearance with Stormbringer. Checking in with some of the chat here. You definitely lose money on AF-15 about 6 to 8 years ago. AF-15's cooled off a lot after being on a massive high. That was the time to buy, though. People lost money during that time. Yeah, it is interesting. I say you can see when you go throughout the history, like it's not a straight graph, right? Like there are times that it does that. And you look at like the GPAs and you like really see like the price windows. That's something I think is like the most interesting. You just take the biggest snapshot you can of a lot of this stuff where it's like, what book am I at right here? Amazing Fantasy 15. So let's look at like a high census situation. The 4 5s. Actually, let's go down one because I think this is even more sales. 3 5s. You can just see like the windows, right? Where it's like 2005 to 2006. You see a lot of like 3s and 2s and 1s. 3s and 2s and 1s. And then you get to like 2007 to 2011. What do you see here? You see a lot of 3s and 5s and 6. Right? 3s and 5s and 4s and 6. Then you get to 2012 and 16. Or I would even lump it like this, where it's like you start to see 5s and 9s and 8s and 11s, right? Like that's a big spread. Big spreads right there. And then you get to here, and you start to see 11s and 15s and 20s, and then you get to here, and you start to see like 20s and 16s and this. And then this is when it gets wild, right? Like all of a sudden you're at 40s and 45s and 26s and 28s. Big jumps. But it's these, 2x jumps is kind of almost regular, right? Because you got the 10s here, you got the 20s here, you get the 40s here. So we've been kind of 2xing a lot recently. But that's, sort of the compound effect of a lot of the values of these books, like kind of works that way. Google cover tells a story. This one tells a trilogy. Yeah, a lot going on. A lot going on in that one. Hello, Sway. I just bought Captain America Comics number 9. That's awesome. 1941. So wait, did you buy it in this auction? Did we just see your book go by? Was this one right? Was this you right here? That's huge, man. That's congratulations. I don't know if that's you, but 8.0 went for $10,000. Lee Binder, Simon Kirby stories, Simon Kirby art, Hurricane and Father Time backup stories. That's a pretty good lucky ricochet point of the shield. Like, look at this guy. He shot this bullet, and it hit the interior rounded part of the shield. You would think that based on this trajectory, it might ricochet into Cap's arm, as opposed, or maybe even ricochet into his shoulder. But I guess he hit the very, very top edge of the shield. So good timing with Cap right there. Very precise. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this cover. There's a lot to look at. Why is this guy painting Bucky? Like, what is he doing? How did he? This guy's the fastest painter I've ever seen in my life. That's like, think about that. Like, how long has he been choking Bucky? And then no look paint to the perfect canvas. This is impressive, guys. Wait, well, clearly this guy's a demon. I mean, he's got the demon hand here. He's got something going on here. And then we got this like demon hand here with the regular hand here. I got to say, guys, I don't know how he made it work, but that is some impressive choking of Bucky while painting Bucky at the same time. And this ricochet. That doesn't obey the laws of physics at all. I think that's what Spider-Man said. That number 9 cover looks pre-code horror. Yeah, it is it got a little pre-code horror-y vibes. I mean, we got skulls on the cover. We got a lot of stuff going for it. It's pretty cool. Okay. So you just got a 5.5. Well, very cool. This is a cool cover. There's a lot going on here. A lot to look at. Yeah, this Cap 9 cover is crazy. It's definitely crazy. The glove is a scanner and it operates his other hand. Neuralink. Yeah, apparently. But that is impressive. He is a very, very fast painter. One of the fastest artists to ever. Oh, here we go. We're in the Chamber of Chills, guys. We weren't paying attention. Chamber of Chills, 19. We had a 9.2 earlier today that sold for $70,000. $70,000? Yeah, it's pretty wild. So what would be the right price for this? 8.0. We're at 33 now. We're at 36. Pull up some figures so we can talk about it concurrently. We're still at 36 next bid. It seems like pretty not crazy. Not a crazy price. Because 8.5 went for 52 90 days ago. 8.0 is going to be a personal best for the 8.0 grade itself. Okay, we got a nice little bit in there. So did go up a little bit. Someone bought this for 24 last Heritage auction. So this feels proportional, I think, right now. I'd say if it finished at this price point, it's going to be proportional to probably where some of the other kind of recent sales might have gone, because the 8.5 went for 52. So 8.0, 36. See if it's going to be called. Anyone else coming in? And sold 37. So I wouldn't call it a massive sale. I mean, it's a lot of money. So, it feels like, yeah, cool. Like that's maybe the right price of where we maybe want to go. Chamber of Chills 23 and Crime Patrol. This is another like epic kind of Lee Elias cover. This 9.0. I don't know if this is top of census, but people really do like this thing. Probably the number 2 Chamber of Chills cover, I think, after number 19. Although I think 21 is clearly the coolest book of them all. Let's kind of see where this goes for. This feels like a lot. 28,000 for this 9.0. Lot closes 27,000. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know what that's at, but that feels like it's a lot. This right here feels very cheap right now. The fact that this book was hovering at 6,000 at a 6.5, that feels way under price. This right here is Crime Patrol number 15. This is the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper. Now, I know a lot of people are not going to like this cover. I love this cover. I think it is very cool, very creative. I'm a big fan of like how it mirrors what's happening on TV here. Johnny Craig would do this a lot with the covers that he do. But this feels like it's not going to sell. I mean, I have to look at the numbers. This feels like it's maybe not that feels really cheap. I could be wrong. That feels really cheap. Let's find out here. Crime Patrol 15. That's one of the things is like, I think that the book is cool, but it doesn't have your traditional pre-code horror kind of vibes. So yeah, 9,600 for a book that the same grade, probably the same book, went for $12,000 not too long ago. So gone down in value. It happens. It happens. Even to the best of them. Even to the best of them. Even this 4.5. Look at this, guys. 4.5 went for $12,000 earlier last year as well. So very, very weak sale for that particular book, I would make the argument. And that's really one of those things, again, no book is immune. It all depends. It all depends who's bidding at the time. What does with BP under next bid mean? So BP is the buyer's premium. That is like the auction house cut. So when you buy the book, so technically your next bid, if I was going to bid on this book, my next bid would have been 24,000. Or let's talk about this one. My next bid would be 3,800, but yet the auction house gets some money. So technically I'm paying 4,800. So with the buyer's premium, but when you look at the GPA and like the sale price and whatever, it always includes the buyer's premium. That's a part of like the fair market value price. So that's kind of what you get with all of it. So what we're seeing right here is like if I can bid on this book, like I'm in the auction. So if I wanted to bid, the price I'm going to have to pay. Technically, my bid is 4,600, but the price I'm actually paying is 5,520. That's the next bid that is coming in on that book. Crime Suspense 20. I think that's probably a good sale for that one. That's another book that really has kind of gained a lot of notoriety and steam recently. Let's see. That was what grade was this? Gaines file copy? 9.2? Actually, that's probably not a good sale for that. 27.6. Yeah, not the best sale, right? I mean, this last book right here, 30,000. The same book went for 30,000, just 11.29. What? Oh, 2021. So last year. So this book has gone down in value. Again, it's the thing too. The same book went last year for 30,000, sold this year for 27.6. So again, no book is immune. If they have to go on sale, it can 100% correct. 100% can correct. All right. Last book to watch right here, Detective Comics number 31. Such a cool cover. This one's going to be a 50K book for sure. $60K. One of the all-time great Batman covers. Yeah, so they basically get a 20% cut for running the auction. Right, yeah. That's how they make money. It's highway robbery. I think you can well, actually, I don't know how it works because there's a percentage that they have to pay when you put up your books and stuff, and you can kind of negotiate your price with Heritage. I think if you sell more, then you're gonna have more negotiating power. Just picked up my first comic today. Thanks for your videos. Oh, awesome! Congrats, Jack. Welcome to Comic Books. Hopefully, you got something you really, really enjoy. Wow, this book is definitely shooting up here. 55,000 and gone. 66,000 sold. The Detective Comics number 31. Comics 31. All-time great Batman book. Last few sales. So yeah. So the 2.0 went for 93,000. That was a what? A 1.5? 66. One went for 48 in 2021. So I mean, kind of in line where you want to put it. Depends. All right, guys. All right, one more. We're always doing one more. There's always one more book to talk about. See if this is the consolation prize from the top of census sold for 300K earlier today. And then this book is going to sell for a $40,000 price point. Probably still really good for this one overall. $31 for the 7.0. Okay, so this probably the same exact book went for 31.5 on Comic Connect earlier this year. So looks like it's probably going to finish right around the same price, unless someone comes in with a bid, kind of at the last minute here. But yeah, 33. Negligible difference when we're talking about that level of book overall. All right. Well, I've been going long enough. I've been watching enough books. There's definitely some other books I would love to watch kind of later. Avengers number 8, First Appearance of King and Conqueror, I think is one of the top of the census. There's another Avengers one I want to look at too. Maybe we can do a kind of a recap. I thought it'd be kind of fun to just do a live stream and follow along some of these books, just because this is the signature auction. So there was like some huge books that went up for sale, and it is interesting. I mean, I think it feels some books did well, some books didn't do well, and it really just depends. But most of the time, it feels like, again, it's that trend line thing where a lot of books just shot up way too much in 2021 and 2022, lop that all off, reset expectations, and we're kind of going back in line. It'll be interesting to think about if books can test 2020 prices more. We will certainly see. But yeah. Thanks so much for hanging out, guys. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys had fun hanging out on the stream, and hopefully you guys have a good rest of the day. I'm going to go back to doing other work things, but I appreciate you all for hanging out. Anyways, that's all I got. Ending the stream. See you guys later.